This question reads, a charitable foundation awards grants in exactly 4 areas, M, T, W, and Y, each grant being in one of these areas. 1 or more grants are awarded in each of the 4 quarters of a calendar year. Additionally, over the course of a calendar year, the following must obtain. Okay, so we have our inventory, which are the different areas. We have M, T, W, and Y. And then we have 4 quarters in the year. All right, now let's go to the rules. Rule number 1, grants are awarded in all of the 4 areas. So in the distribution of how many grants in each area, we have a 1-to-1-to-1-to-1 ratio, at least 1 grant in each area. Now, rule number 2, no more than 6 grants are awarded. Now again, looking at this distribution of how many grants in each area, we know we have no more than 6. So we could have 1 in each, or we could have 2 in one, and then 1 grant in each of the other areas. And that would give us 5 grants. So this would be 4 grants in total. This would be 5 grants. Now we could have 6 grants, which would have 2 different distributions. We could have 2 grants in 2 different areas and then 1 in the rest, which would be 6. Or we could have 3 grants in one area and 1 in the rest, and that would be 6 as well. Now, as we're talking about distributions, it's also important to note that we are told that we have 1 or more grants awarded in each of the 4 quarters. So we can place a different distribution to the right of these and call this the distribution of grants in the different quarters. So we know since 1 or more grants are awarded in each of the 4 quarters of a calendar year, we have a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. So again, that would be for our 4. If we had 5 grants, we would have a ratio of 2 grants in 1 quarter and 1 in the rest. We could have 6 grants, which would place us either with 2 grants in 2 quarters and 1 in the rest, or 3 grants in 1 quarter and 1 in the rest. Okay, so far our 2 distributions are the same. The left-hand side is our distribution of the types of grants, and the right-hand side is a distribution of grants in the quarters. Now, you'll see why we've written them both out. Rule number 3. No grants in the same area are awarded in the same quarter or in consecutive quarters. Okay, so that means we don't have a grant of the same area in the same quarter, nor do we have a grant in the same area in consecutive quarters. All right, rule number 4. Exactly 2 medical services grants are awarded. Okay, so we know we have exactly 2 medical services grants. So, in our distribution of types of grants, we can no longer have only 1 of each type of grant, and we can no longer have our 3-1-1-1 because we need to have at least 1-2 option, so that can be our medical services. And the last rule, rule number 5, a wildlife preservation grant is awarded in the 2nd quarter. So we have 5, wildlife is in the 2nd quarter. Now we know from rule number 3 that we can't have wildlife in consecutive quarters, so wildlife can't be in the 1st quarter and wildlife can't be in the 3rd quarter. And again, I just wanted to point out to you the differences between our 2 distributions. On the left-hand side, it's the distributions of the types of grants, meaning we could have 2 of one type and then 1 of the rest, or 2 of 2 types and 1 of the rest. On the right-hand side, it's a distribution of grants in the quarters. So, since we know that we're always going to have 2 medical services, and we also know that we're always going to have at least 1 of the rest, so we'll have a T, W, and Y, and this is our minimum, we know we have at minimum 5 different grants. So we can get rid of this distribution here because this is only giving us 4 grants in the matter of a year, but we know we have at least 5 and we could have 6. So we're always going to have one quarter with more than one grant in it, and we could have 2 quarters with 2 grants in it. And it's really helpful to always think about your distributions because it's going to save time later during the questions. Okay, so we've got our rules, our deductions, and our setup. Let's go ahead and hit the questions.